every single morning you think you're throwing them a lifeline? But the truth is, you might actually be sending out this silent chemical distress signal across your entire backyard. Think about it. You fill up the tray, you step back, and you watch. For a few minutes, everything looks absolutely perfect. Wings everywhere, chatter, motion, life. Then, without warning, total silence. The feeder is still full, but the yard is completely empty. There's no hawk overhead, no cat hiding in the grass, no storm rolling in, just nothing. And if you've ever stood there wondering what you did wrong, well, the answer is way stranger than you think. Because here's the part almost nobody notices. Before they vanish, some birds do this really odd thing. They'll pick up a seed, hold it for a second, and then just drop it. Others will peck at the food and immediately start wiping their beaks against a branch, over and over, like they're trying to get rid of a bad taste. At first glance, it just looks like they're being picky, like a spoiled bird turning its nose up at a free meal. But if you watch closely enough, across enough mornings, you start to notice a pattern. It's not random, it's not a mood, it's a response. And this is where it gets interesting. Birds don't actually eat the way we assume they do. We imagine them as these simple creatures driven by basic hunger, just grabbing whatever's closest. But underneath that instinct is something closer to a calculator. It's this unconscious, hyper-precise system that's constantly measuring fat content, protein, salt, moisture, energy density, comparing all of it against what their body needs right now, today. This exact hour. It's not conscious thought, it's older than thought. So when you place a single, isolated food source in front of them like one type of seed, or one kind of bread, or that convenient bulk bag mix, you're not offering variety. You're offering a shortcut that quietly overrides that internal compass. Just think about this for a second. A bird can eat until its stomach is completely full and still be starving in the ways that actually matter. Because fullness and nourishment, they are not the same signal. And when that gap goes unnoticed for too long, the body starts making trade-offs you'd never expect. But it doesn't even stop there. Honestly, some of the most common things we throw out in the backyard act less like a decent meal and more like a nutritional black hole. Take bread, for instance. It fills them up fast, sure, but it delivers almost nothing a bird actually needs. And when they start relying on that as their main food source, the damage isn't instant, it's architectural. Their feathers, which need a steady stream of specific proteins to grow right, start coming in weaker, thinner, and less insulated. In the dead of winter, that's not just a cosmetic issue. That is the literal difference between making it through the night or not. Even their flight muscles get deprived of real fuel, so they tire out way faster. A bird that used to outmaneuver a hawk in 3 sharp turns might now only have the energy for 2. And that changes everything about how they experience the world right outside your window. Because the real danger isn't the food itself, it's what that food quietly takes away. And here's the twist most people never even think about. The birds actually know, not intellectually, obviously, not the way we know things, but behaviorally, they start adjusting. And this is where it stops being about just one bird and starts affecting your entire yard. See, birds don't just eat your food, they profile it. Every single feeder, every yard, every steady source gets quietly filed away in this sort of shared memory across the local flock. They're constantly judging, is this a real resource or just an empty illusion? Is it reliable or totally unpredictable? Rich or hollow? And that judgment shapes something you'd never think to look for, their actual foraging routes. A yard that consistently puts out unbalanced, low-value food doesn't just see fewer birds over time, it gets deprioritized. Quietly, invisibly, your address gets moved lower on an ancient informal map. It's a map passed down through generations of local birds who have never even met you, but somehow already know exactly what to expect from you. But here's the really strange part. The consequences don't just stay in your backyard. When a bird goes through a sudden nutritional crash, the kind that happens when they rely on a poor food source for too long, their voice actually changes. Calls that used to carry a steady, confident frequency start to shift. They sound subtly stressed, subtly strained, and other birds notice. Not because they're trying to be kind, but because, in the wild, distress is information. A stressed call from one yard can ripple outward, changing how neighboring flocks view that entire stretch of land. One little dietary mistake in your backyard can quietly reshape how birds behave 3, 4, or 5 properties away. It's a silent broadcast you never meant to send, traveling on frequencies you'll never hear. Now, here's what's actually happening when you look up at the sky. For a second, just forget the version of the world you know. No property lines, no fences, no polite suburban geometry. From up there, your neighborhood is just a shifting map of caloric equations. Patches of real nourishment glow like safe harbors, while patches of empty convenience are marked as a risk. Every single bird crossing that sky is doing constant split-second math. Do I have enough energy to reach that tree? Enough reserve to survive that gap? Enough fuel to make it through the night? Your feeder isn't just a piece of garden decoration in that landscape. It's either a genuine oasis, or it's a trap dressed up as generosity, a shortcut that costs them way more than it gives. And the birds circling above you right now, they already know which one yours is. Which brings us right back to that quiet moment at your window. The full feeder, the empty yard. Maybe it was never really about missing birds. Maybe it was a verdict. Because feeding wild birds was never just a casual hobby, even if it feels that way to us. It's a quiet, ongoing agreement. A pact between you and something ancient that's been watching human backyards for a lot longer than we realize. And just like any pact, it can be honored, or it can be quietly broken. The fix, honestly, isn't all that complicated. Just rotate what you're offering. Try mixing up real seed varieties. Things like sunflower, millet, Niger, instead of just relying on one big bolt bag. Skip the bread entirely. And maybe throw in a little source of protein, like mealworms, especially during those colder months when keeping warm matters the most. It takes almost no extra effort, really, but to the flock reading your yard, it's the difference between an illusion and an actual lifeline. So the next time you go out to fill that tray, just pause for a second. Somewhere above you, up in the canopy, something has already noticed exactly what you just did, and it's already deciding what to do next. What do you think they've already figured out about you?